Hey, what's up, everybody? I know it's not Thursday, but I was sitting around doing nothing today and watching videos, and I saw a video that was of some concern to me. So I wanted to hop on here and just do a little bit. Nobody's live with us yet, but notice here, got a new neon sign that my son bought me for Christmas. Just came in today. Thank him for that. Looks pretty cool back there. So, um, something I probably should have done from the word go on the first show was basically say that obviously everything on here is my opinion and my opinion only, unless I've done some research and there's some facts in here. But um, I'm not here to offend, but I'm probably going to offend. So if I offend you, you can always move on. You're not going to hurt my feelings, and you can comment on here. You're not going to hurt my feelings. Um, there's plenty of places that you can go watch. So I'm not trying to kick anybody out. I'm just saying that if I'm not trying to offend you, but it's likely, like I said, it's blue truth and bourbon, and the more bourbon there is, probably the more truth is going to come out. So uh, just hang in there. Like I said, if there's something that you don't like, hopefully the next show will be better for you. So just figured I'd say that so that you know, whatever they call it, my little warnings, so that if you don't like me, I don't mind if you move on. I do it to people all the time. So I did post on there that we were going to have a special guest today, and today I'm going to talk about the video that I saw, the one that was a little concerning to me, and it's just again, you know, uh, breaking down a video that I saw. Uh, after spending 25 years in law enforcement, um, I still sit around and watch cop videos. I still sit around. I'm watching the first 48 on TV right now. So I watch cops and I critique everything and laugh at some of the stuff on cop shows that isn't real and fake. And I'm sure all you guys do that as well. And if your spouses are watching this after it's taped or you're live with us, your significant other is not crazy. We all do it. We sit around and watch the cop shows. So we do have a special guest today. I'm going to bring him on here. Everybody, this is Brian, good friend of mine. Brian and I we went to the police academy together, so we've known each other for 26 years. That'd be this January, 26 years. Like I said, police academy together. Been friends ever since. We were in each other's weddings. Um, Brian is
At least
also
one lasted.
retired law enforcement. What's that?
I said at
Oh,
least one lasted.
yeah, stick it over here so I can see the comments if anybody comments. I forgot to turn my comment section on. But Brian, go ahead and introduce yourself. Let the folks know who you are, where you came from, what you're doing, whatever you feel like sharing there.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks, Steve, for inviting me to join in. Like Steve said, we've known each other for a long time. Uh, Crazy part is we all grew up in the same area and somehow never crossed paths. But yeah, we've been good friends since the academy days. Good old 9901 out at Valencia. Um, Worked at neighboring agencies, crossed paths a few times on the street. Unfortunately, never got to work together directly, but we'd always bump into one another. And then, of
Went to the
course,
same high school and never knew
yeah,
each other.
yep, yep. But I knew your sister, so
Right, right.
for a long, long time. Um, did take a little ribbing from Steve when I got cross sworn with his agency that it was finally time that I you know
Join the better agency. Well, okay. Maybe back then.
yeah. So retired in the heat of COVID back in 2020, I guess it was. still serve as a reserve and currently serve as a labor rep with the Fraternal Order of Police.
Doing good things still.
Trying.
Well, that's Brian, everybody. Brian will be back with us several times probably as we get into what he does now with the FOP and talking about negotiations and talking about some things that they do with discipline with officers and stuff like that. So again, part of the whole process that I want to have here with this show is, as we grow, hopefully some of the younger guys are watching and they're finding out good information from us, and Brian will have a lot of information there that can maybe help somebody along the way as they're going. If you're just joining us, I was talking about my neon sign here. Thought that was pretty cool. My son got me that. I got my flag still on the way, so the background will improve. But yeah, so Brian, do you still watch cop shows?
I'll watch like cop TV series, some of them.
So you were sad when Blue Bloods went off the air?
I haven't watched Blue Bloods in years. It was just one of those things. I watched it when it first came on, and as things come along, new shows come along, I stopped following along. But I know it's still one of those big favorites out there. Probably the most recent cop show I've watched probably would have been the Magnum PI reboot.
It's not Tom Selleck. It's no good.
Yeah, I know. I guess probably the closest thing to a cop show I watch on the flip side is Mayor of Kingstown.
Okay.
On Paramount Plus.
Mm-hmm.
It's a TV show. It's a TV show, but it definitely shows the underbelly of what happens when we put bracelets on somebody and they go away. And
right. Well, listen, I sent Brian the video earlier so he could take a look at it, and we're going to take a look at the video here. I'm going to chop it up a little bit. We'll have commentary in between the whole video, so I'm not going to run the entire video. I'll throw it on here, and then we'll watch a little bit of it, and then we'll discuss some things. But basically, to preface this whole thing, law enforcement in Bowling Green, Kentucky, get a phone call. Hey, this guy's at our car dealership giving us a hard time, and over a car that he claimed that he had rights to under some sort of trust, and doesn't want to leave when they tell him to leave. So Bowling Green, Kentucky shows up, and here's kind of what they faced. Oh, I got to share it.
Hey, you hold on. Hey, you hold on. Hey, sit down. Hey, sit down.
Notice right there.
Sit down. Hey, of course, he's got a gun.
He has basically told the officer, I don't have to listen to you. You work for me, and pulled a gun on him. And if you notice, let me back it up a little bit and see if I can get the right there. You can see. Does everybody see? Brian, can you see that?
Yeah.
All right. So just make sure. Originally, the gun's pointed right at him. He's able to get his hand on it and get it pushed up out of the way here. And I mean, at this point, I know what I'm thinking. If I'm that officer, it's time to get to work. As you're going to see here, that's probably not his mindset at this point in time. So we'll continue on a little bit.
Sit down. Hey, of course, he's got a gun. Stand there. Come on, officer. Stand there. Get out. Stand there. Get out. Ask for line. Quit.
Again, starts backing down this hallway and decides that he's gonna back into this room. You can see right there, this guy is pointing the gun straight at him. right through that window. So this is the second time that he's pointed the gun at him. And again, my thought process is get to work. Brian, what do you, I mean, I'm confident you agree with me because I've known you for 26 years, but I mean, what's your opinion here is why, what are you thinking? If you put yourself in this guy's shoes, what are you thinking?
I mean, I go back to the way that we were trained, and we would have never left that room that this all started in.
Yeah, I mean, the first time he pulls that gun, I mean, it ought to have been over right there. And so I'm just not sure what this guy is thinking at this time.
And don't know anything about this officer, how long he was on, again, what his experience was,
Right.
what the quality of training is. But I go back to our basic training, and he already had a hand on the gun. The fight is on from there. You're either getting that gun away or like you said, it's time to go to work. And the fight ends in that little office they were in.
Yeah. And I mean, it looked to me like, and he may not have had a good grip, but his hand was pretty much covering that slide and the frame of that gun. So even if that guy pulls the trigger right there, if you've got a good tight grip on that thing, it's not going to work like it's supposed to. And you may even induce a misfeed or what have you. And you're right. I mean, we don't know who this guy is. Literally, I saw this video today. Apparently, this happened back in July of 2023. Never seen it. And so, again, we don't know who this guy is. We don't know what kind of training he has. We don't know what kind of training that the department does. But knowing your agency, your ex-agency, knowing my ex-agency, at least once a year, we had some sort of firearms. We had firearms training for sure. And most of ours, before it was all one day kind of thing, but afterwards we had multiple days of throughout the year. And one of those days was scenarios. And so, we were constantly working over, hey, what could happen? Putting ourselves in combat situations without being in combat. And, like people say, the body can't go where the mind's never been. And so, mentally training ourselves and preparing ourselves for this kind of thing. And we just don't know what happens here. So let's move forward a little bit. We'll show you a little bit more.
Get out! Esteban, quit! Esteban, quit! Quit!
Keep telling him to quit.
Get out! Get out! Get out!
Not sure what that means.
Take cover! Take cover!
Tell somebody to take cover. Now, you guys heard the 2 gunshots right there. This item in his hands is not his pew pew. I got to try to remember that some of these words get me canceled. Facebook may ban me. So I started to use the word elephant for those things just because it would be memorable for people. And every time I said elephant, they would know what I was talking about. But that's his taser, folks. And just after those gunshots and right before this video kind of ends from this guy's body cam point of view, you hear him actually say taser. Not sure why he's warning this guy that he's firing his taser at this point, but that's where I'm going to stop the video. We're going to talk about it a lot. And there's several things I want to talk about from my point of view, from Brian's point of view, and anybody that wants to jump on and comment, feel free to do so. But yeah, I mean, he grabs the taser, tells somebody else to take cover, and then grabs the taser. But you heard him go all the way down that hallway. Heard him go all the way down that hallway. Quit, get down. And all the meanwhile, he's running away. Now, I don't have a problem with him getting some room. Because just from the looks of it, I mean, it's an auto dealership, but that hallway is not real big. You could probably spread your arms out and touch both sides of the walls as you're going down there. So I don't have any problem with him getting to a point where he can get back and draw his gun, but he doesn't. And watching this video, I don't know, I was concerned. I'll tell you this. So apparently, and it doesn't show any of this, and I haven't read the story, but apparently this officer is saved by his civilian ride along, who grabs this guy and chokes him out and kills him. So quite a reversal of what you would expect. And so, but Brian, like you were talking about, what kind of training does this guy have? We don't know that. And I'm curious what your thoughts are. I mean, again, and this is just Monday morning quarterbacking. This is talking from our perspective, from our experience. But when you look at this, I mean, is he scared? Is it a lack of training? I mean, I know he had training. I'm sure he probably had training, because every agency does, don't they? So at some extent. Is Brian frozen? Oh, there he is. Well, he moved a little
I
bit.
think I lost you there for a second.
Yeah, I was just saying, is it a lack of training, do you think? I mean, this guy, I would assume that every agency is training at some point. I mean, if nothing else, after Columbine, with active shooters, we're definitely looking at, more and more that agencies are training on these things. And so, I mean, what do you think? Do you think it's a lack of training? Do you think this guy's scared? What?
Well, and I will tell you that based on what I do now and having traveled all across the state dealing with different agencies, you and I are very fortunate from what we came from and what we
Sure.
got to work with.
Sure.
I will tell you that there are a lot of agencies out there that don't have the training, nor do they have the ability to conduct the training, because they don't have the manpower and the resources in their training staff or the expertise of that to do the type of things that we do. I something we heard a lot when we were young in our careers, and it was the tactical mindset.
Right.
And I have a good friend who a few years before us, he went to the police academy and made it almost to the end. And when they started doing decision work, did I lose you?
I can still hear you. Well, I could. Brian's having some technical difficulties. I can see your eyes moving again, and then not, and then again. Yeah, like Brian was saying, though, I mean, we're very fortunate to come from agencies that had a large training budget, so we were able to do a lot of things that I guess a lot of guys and agencies don't get a chance to do. And maybe he's going to try to come back. But as we look at that video, I couldn't help but think, what is going on here? Is it a lack of training? Is he scared to do the job that he was paid to do? Because obviously the job's not for everybody. I can't imagine that that's the case. I mean, I'm not sure why you would be afraid to do it, knowing when you're getting into it that that's what that's what's going on. That there's potential for that. But at the same time, this is 2023, this video. Um, I can't help but wonder if the public perception is going through this guy's mind. He's a white officer. He's in a confrontation with a black male suspect who's pulled a gun on him. I don't think it's, I'm not saying that he needs to shoot him because he's black. That's obviously not right. But it shouldn't matter that he is black. This guy pulled a gun on him and shot and pointed the gun at him probably the whole way down the hallway, to be honest with you. And Brian Martin, you're right. Small agency, don't have a lot of experience, probably never encountered something like this. I don't know. I tried to look it up. I'm not sure how many people Bowling Green. I think there's 2 different police departments there. And so I don't know which one it was, but they may not, have enough officers working right then. So he's by himself, doesn't have an opportunity to have a backup unit at the time. And so, sure, first time he's experienced something like this. I get it. That could very well be the case. Is he just didn't experience this before. But again, I mean, you've got to have that in your mind that things can go bad. You don't expect them to, you don't want them to, but you got to believe that things can go bad at the drop of a hat. And so, Mark, again, you're right. The OODA loop. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's observe, orient, decide, and act. Got stuck there somewhere. Maybe that's the case. Just fine motor skills and everything went out the window at that point. I don't know. But I just wonder, was it a sign of the times? Was it he was afraid that he was going to be on the news because he had to shoot somebody? I don't know. It's a scary situation, but just to look at this video, I mean, if I was right now, like I said, it's the first time I've seen it, but if I was a training officer right now and I saw these different these videos, I'd be using them like crazy to train people, to put them out there and say, hey, look, here's what can happen. And we've got to, all the noise in the background, we got to do something about this. We got to train so that when we face this experience, and that can be done anywhere. I mean, you don't have to have a training department to do that. Honestly, take a trainee out in the parking lot somewhere. I'm not saying point a gun at them, but, going over scenarios and making sure that, they understand what's going on and what can happen. And so when you look at it, Brian, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay. I don't have any video for you, but you are there in voice. So, but yeah, what we were talking about, what you were saying about, you said you've been to some agencies that don't necessarily have the budget.
They don't have the budget. They don't have the experience. And
Right.
it's not the cops on the street, their detectives don't have the experience doing police work. These agencies don't have the time, the extra manpower to be able to send these people, to 1 week, 2 week schools, so they can come back and put on these scenarios. I got a lot of popular and good support. FDLE this year started through their budget and funding. They were sending their instructors throughout the state to help these smaller agencies run through some of these force on force scenarios, live fire drills, and that's huge for these agencies. You and I saw it at least once a year, if not more, some sort of force on force training. Right. But I'm going to, like I started to say before we got, stuck frozen in the 80s back there, I'm going to fathom to say that officer has never trained that situation where you're confronted with a gun in close quarters, well within that 7-foot gap. So he reacted and took hold of the gun.
Which was amazing.
Right.
The right thing to do. I mean, at that point, you're that close. You're probably not getting to your gun first before you get to his gun.
Right. So he clearly closed the distance and reactionary, instinctive, whatever you want to call it, had a good hand on the gun. And like we were talking about, on the pew pew. But yeah, and had bad guy been able to get one off, I think
I don't know why he didn't.
It would have, yeah. I think without a doubt it would have functioned once. The first round probably would have worked. I think after that, with the extra hand on
The
it,
slide not going fully back, and
yeah, it would have double fed. There would have been some issue there. There may have been some hand trauma too. But at that point, looking at our training, that's when, to use your term, it would have been time to go to work right then, right there, face to face, so to speak, and never left that room.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously, most of you probably saw my wife commenting on there and wanting to know what going to work meant. So I would have, by going to work, I meant that I would grab my pew pew and make sure that I hit the unload button a couple of times to make sure that one of the two of us made it out of that room alive. And it wasn't going to be him if I had the choice. Why that guy didn't squeeze a round off before, I don't know. Maybe the same thing for him is, I don't want to kill this guy. I don't want to shoot this guy. I just want to get out of this building, kind of thing. And maybe when he saw that taser come out, he thought it was a gun. And he decided that the only way I'm going to get out now is to pull the trigger. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, like Brian said, sometimes you got to have that survival mindset, and it may be easy to lose in Bowling Green, Kentucky. I don't know how big that department is. I don't know how many people they got working there. So it may be easy to not have that mindset. You're used to going from report call to report call, and that's about the extent of it. You don't expect when you go to trespass a guy from a car dealership for him to pull out a gun. But you just never know. And I think that I tried, and I'm probably lying here, but I think that I tried every time to go through that in my mind as I'm going to a call is, hey, what if this happens? What if things go bad right here? What do we do? And so I don't know.
Fast forward a little bit further, Steve, he ends up with his taser in his hand. I'm gonna suspect that agency still carries their ECD in a position for strong hand draw. And
I can't tell from that video, but that's what I suspect.
And myself and some others, when both our agencies were deployed with those tools, I was a big advocate to get them away from strong hand draw.
Right.
And then you started seeing cases, unfortunately, around the country where Leos testified that they thought, the other tool was in their hand.
Of course. Yeah. And we even had somebody that was killed, a female officer that shot and killed a guy when she, you hear her scream taser before she pulls the trigger on her pew pew. So, her elephant, whatever we're calling it. I don't know if you guys were here earlier, but I said I was going to use the word elephant for the So it would be memorable for you guys. Every time you heard the word elephant, you would think about me. But yeah, I mean, it's incredible to me that, first of all, that guy didn't die. That cop didn't die. He survived. Very lucky man. And I bet a year and a half later, he's probably, I don't know if he's still working, but if he is, I bet he's changed his mindset. I bet he does things a little different now. So,
Well, I mean, we can go well beyond, the tactical part of this, and let's all admit that he's reliving that day all the time.
yeah,
Regardless of his physical condition now, we know that what we have learned in this profession over the last few years is we are not immune to what we see and do. And much like the military, we carry it with us for the rest of our time.
yeah, yep. And we're going to get into that a lot too. We're going to talk about mental health and law enforcement and PTSD. And Brian Martin, I agree with you. I wish we could say what we want on here. And if you don't like it, just go somewhere else, unfortunately. And I don't think anybody that's watching here, that's up here on my screen, tells me how many people are watching. I don't think anybody here is going to complain on me. But the minute somebody does and says, oh, I was offended by the word he used, and then I get kicked off for a while or forever. And I think it's ridiculous that we can't say what we want and you can just watch something else if you don't want to hear it. But we all know, I mean, shoot, they're arresting people in the UK now for comments on Facebook and MySpace, and, well, not MySpace, but all these social media networks. They're arresting people in the UK. And I firmly believe that had November not happened, we were headed that way ourselves here in this country. So, but yeah, this video, and one of the things I wanted to mention about this video, and hopefully, if I do start to expand and grow and get more viewers, one of the things that I hope people will see and come to understand from that video is that the taser is not the be all end all. The guy pulled a pew pew out on him, and he grabbed a taser. I don't know if we can say taser. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe we call that a zebra or something. I don't know.
ECD, call it an ECD.
There you go. He pulls that out and fires it off. If you watch the video either on YouTube or you find it somewhere, there's actually a longer version of it. You can hear the taser going off, and you can even hear it a little bit in the end of that video that I showed. And it didn't work. It didn't have any effect. I don't know if he hit the guy with it or not. And that's one of the things I was going to say is, these people that think that ECD is the be all end all, and if somebody pulls out a pew pew or a knife or whatever kind of weapon, that, well, all you have to do is use the ECD on them, and it's going to work. And that's just not the case. It has to hit. It has to then work. And depending on the distance, they can still get you. So,
Following up with that, Steve, is, we can all agree that was the wrong tool to be even out of its holster at the time. But again, going back to agency training, I'm seeing there's places that, they allege they have a master instructor on staff. But I can tell that they're blowing through that PowerPoint that has all that legal information and the things that will protect you in criminal court and federal court and all that, they're pushing forward on that presentation as fast as they can. Again, the budgetary complaints, they're probably pulling the trigger once on a live cartridge, and they're getting the blessing that you're now trained and qualified to carry this ECD and go forth and do your job. and
Yeah.
they're not going through the exercises that we've all been through. You know, we're lucky here in Florida that they're now a part of academy training. And again, I'm sure they're not spending great amount of time in academy training because, you know, they've got so much to cover in so little time. But it's better than it was when we were started.
Right. Well, I mean, we didn't even have, we were old, so we didn't even have tasers when we started. Yeah, and again, like you were just saying, you know, it goes back to the what kind of training are they getting with the ECD? You know, I was involved in an incident, I don't know, 2000, 2001, where a guy significantly beat up his I don't know if she was his wife or girlfriend, but definitely domestic battery. And the deputy that was on scene, guy pulled out a samurai sword, and she called for backup, and we all came running. And I think, well, I know one person had their taser out because they used it, but their ACD. But the rest of us had our pew pews, and the guy, he hit him with the ECD, and this guy took the samurai sword and cut the probes, the cords, and kept coming. And I was probably 3 pounds into a 5-pound trigger pull when the second cartridge hit him and dropped him to the floor. So yeah, I mean, it all depends on the agency, the training, you know, what all, and those factors, whether or not it works or not. So the guy's very lucky to be alive, in my opinion. Trying to read some of the comments. Andy, hello, if you're still there. Be safe. Hi to everybody that's there. Adam, I don't know if you're watching, but tonight is Benchmark, which is bottled by Buffalo Trace. If anybody from Buffalo Trace is watching, feel free to send me a bottle. And there go the dogs in the background.
I did stop into a couple establishments over the last few days trying to look to help you refill your stock after your post.
Yeah, and the guy out here that he supplies for the Central Florida Bourbon Society, he doesn't even have it. And so I ended up with Benchmark and Russell's, which aren't bad. So yeah, so you know, like I said, I watched this video today, and I struggled with it because I just didn't know what it was, and so as we move on, I'm hoping that, you know, more stuff like that I can share, but you know, kind of showing the public that, you know, some of the times, you know, when an officer involved in a shooting, especially if he had been able to fire a weapon there, you know, having that body cam is important, obviously. And we talked about that last week or the week before about saving more people than hurting people. But without that body cam, you know, we could have had some trouble. But that, you know, shooting that guy, I mean, he's dead because the guy choked him out. But I think the public needs to see that, you know, and it's always going to happen. Everybody's always going to jump to conclusions before the full things come out. But, you know, you hope showing stuff like that people understand a little bit more about what we do or what we did and why. And so,
Well, fast forward to current events, though. Is somebody from the public going to be willing to do what that person did based on what we just saw in New York City for the last year?
right.
You know?
Yeah. And that was one of the things that I talked about with some folks when they mentioned how did you feel about that? verdict, and I was shocked, only because it was New York, and I thought he was going to get convicted. But I said to this person, I said, if he gets convicted, all Good Samaritan laws should come off the books because nobody is going to want to do anything. Nobody's going to want to protect anybody else. And, you know, you're right. I mean, based on that alone, I mean, that goes to the point of, okay, was he worried about being on the news? You know, was he worried about getting convicted of homicide? Because the way of our court system is right now, the way our society is right now. I mean, who would have thought that Casey Anthony was going to get away with killing her baby? So you just don't know, and I get it. I don't blame him for hesitating, but I'm just glad that it didn't cost him his life.
Well, and again, if we want to talk about current events, I mean, look at what every law enforcement officer in Orange and Osceola County are dealing with until January. But, you know, any deployment of a firearm and any use of force defensive tactic that did or could lead to injury of another is being reviewed for grand jury.
Yeah. And, you know, once she takes back over in January, I'm sure her little, I don't know what you want to call it, task force committee, whatever it is, because she's just looking to hang a cop. She wants to be the next one to bring a grand jury and convict a cop of manslaughter or murder or whatever she can. Feather in her cap, her little George Soros minion here in Orlando. So, let's see. Michelle, yes, sovereign citizens and First Amendment auditors are on my agenda. Sovereigns are a little easier to deal with because, well, for some, we were fortunate because they actually believe in an elected sheriff. They don't believe in an appointed chief of police. So working for a sheriff is a little easier because you can get away with a little bit more because they respect the sheriff, or at least agree that there should be a sheriff. And these First Amendment auditors, I'm not talking about the people that go out. And another thing that we're going to talk about on Thursday, I know tonight's not Thursday, but I am going to do a Thursday show. Thursday, we're going to talk about the Florida's concealed carry law, or constitutional carry, or permitless carry, whatever you want to call it. We're going to talk about that. And we're also going to talk about, I don't know if you guys have seen the HALO law that's being signed into effect in January, where there has to be a 25-foot buffer zone for people that are standing around recording and harassing cops while they're doing their job. So we're going to talk about that. So I'm not talking about those First Amendment auditors or the guys that are cop watch. They want to film everything, but I'm talking about the ones that purposely go to a business or a police office and stand outside and just start filming, hoping that a cop or deputy or postal worker or whoever, wherever the public building happens to be, they just want to goad somebody into violating their rights so that they can make money off of it. We'll talk about those for sure. So, yeah, Brian, I agree with you. I hope the governor, I know that the current state attorney has said that he does, well, I think he's changed his tune now because I think she's said a lot of stuff, but originally he wasn't going to step down until, because he didn't think he had to, based on what the way the governor's ruling was that removed her from office. But I think he's changed his tune after she's browbeat him and got the attorneys running. So, yeah, I wish the governor would kick her out again. Yeah, it's people like that. They want to hold office for the power, and then it's obvious that that's what she's doing. It's not. She's not trying to make a difference. She's trying to change things that suit her agenda. don't want to get off too much on a tangent. But Brian, I appreciate you being on here tonight and sharing your opinions with us.
Absolutely.
Like I said, Brian will be back probably a couple times when we talk about certain things. So, and we'll have some other folks on here that will talk about some of the things that they're experts at. So, looking forward to that. So, anybody got any questions or comments? I'll throw some things up here real quick so you guys can see. Obviously, if you're watching, I think tomorrow I'll be able to go live on my actual Blue Truth and Bourbon podcast Facebook page. Tomorrow should be 60 days. So that's where I'll be from here on out, hopefully starting tomorrow. So maybe Thursday that will be up and running, hopefully. Instagram, you can find me there. And YouTube. And the YouTube, and also I forgot to add, and I'm going to add on here. I'm on Spotify as well under the same, the Blue Truth Bourbon podcast. Just uploaded the last show to that. And then, of course, here's the email address. If you guys have any suggestions, if you have any concerns, complaints, like I said, I think the complaint department automatically feeds to the trash. So if you complain about me, I'm not going to get it anyway.
Are you in the yellow pages too, Steve?
Yeah, you can find me in the yellow pages. I don't know if anybody, well, most of the people on here understand what the yellow pages are. Maybe a couple who don't know what the yellow pages are. But let's see if I can figure out how to do this. Let me go back to here and maybe it does it. Oh, I'm not used to this new thing. Oh crap! Can't get it to work right. There we go. Let's see. Dan. Yeah, you know, from, I don't know if you got to see the whole video, Dan, but I don't know if he's still in law enforcement. I hope that he has changed his ways, because he's not going to get by long with that in the world we live in. You know, it's unfortunate that that happened to him, but it may be time for him to be a music teacher, like you say. But so Thursday night, Florida's concealed carry law. We're going to talk about that. And the Halo law, get your opinions on those, and talk a little bit about some of the stuff we have talked about, some of the stuff that I've mentioned about the Halloween shooting in downtown Orlando and what the mayor and the chief of police said about that. And, you know, we'll move on from there. But I hope you guys stick around. I hope you continue to watch, continue to share it with your friends. I think the Facebook page right now has over 220 some members. So I appreciate you guys reaching out to folks. And hopefully Spotify will pick up. YouTube is where you guys can watch. You can watch them on the Facebook page too, but YouTube is where you can go or send people to catch up on the episodes. And hopefully the word gets out there. Like I said, I want to continue to inform. I want to continue to educate. I want to continue to drink bourbon. So Benchmark, good stuff. Hopefully, you know, hopefully I can keep doing this while it's fun. It's kind of addicting. That's why we're here on a Monday instead of waiting until Thursday. So I guess without further ado, I will say goodnight to you guys for now. And yes, my son is pointing at me right now about shouting out to his sign that he bought me that I've already shouted out twice. So Thursday night, come back and we'll talk some more. And I don't intend on editing my videos. I think, you know, even though I stutter and him and Hall about some things. I think it makes it more real, and having the live views makes it more real for me. Being able to read your comments and talking, having a conversation, even though you're not saying anything, I can read it and we can have a conversation about it. So I appreciate you being here. We're going to end things. And Brian, if you want to hang out and stick around for a second after everything ends, and I'll see you guys on Thursday.